Hey everybody, hopefully I have timed that right and I'm coming at you from YouTube Live. It looks like we're starting the stream right now. My name is Brian Robinson, I'm with Code Contemporary. I'm here to do live office hours every week. This week we're going to be talking about CSS Grid. If there are any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. And if you don't have any questions, I'm just going to be coding up a new custom grid element on my personal site, brianlrobinson.com. So if you're curious about all of that, we'll keep going in that direction. So I really, really enjoy, I do want to say, because I'm really bad at chilling for myself, if you're watching this after the fact, after the stream has ended, please feel free to go down below and mention, hit that subscribe button for me. You'll get notified of all my live streaming as well as any new videos I posted, like the one I posted just the other day. So make sure to do that when you are visiting. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start working on it. I do have a comment from Greg. Hey, good morning. Yeah, we can definitely make the logo bigger. No problem. I do love a good make the logo bigger joke. I'm also hoping that my stream this time around is going to be a little bit higher quality, so that people can read the code a little bit better. I had some comments last time that it was a little bit grainy. I upped the quality level, so hopefully that will also work through, and you might also see random acts of cat throughout because I can't actually close the door to my office. All right, so unless we have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and start looking at the design that I'm working through for my personal site. And we'll go over to the current homepage. Basically, I want to do a small refresh on my homepage. You can see it's a little bit dark. I want to open it up a little bit and play a little bit with this new border style I've had on other pages of the site. So you can see this kind of big border with the gradient. I'm going to be working on bringing a little bit more of that onto the homepage, but also doing a little bit more asymmetry throughout. And so you can see I've got a sketch file up over here that I am planning on working on, at least implementing the grid portion today, unless other questions come up for how to work with grid. So I thought I'd start by, all right, cats. Start by actually taking, yep, she pushed that down. There we go. This grid and start thinking about how I'm actually going to break it up, and it's going to require a little bit of refactoring, at least for my navigation, because as you can see, I've got the navigation up here, and that's actually I am not live streaming my screen. There we go. You can see up here I've got the navigation is actually coming in on top of my banner area, so that's going to take a little bit of a refactor to bring that more in line with where I want to be. But I think this is going to end up being a couple embedded grids inside of each other, and that's one of the great things about the way that that grid can work. Is really it's just a an HTML parent involved there. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to start thinking about how I'm going to break this up, and I'm thinking that really we've got kind of this one big grid, which actually is probably going to become the entire page. Trying some stuff with my iPad over here to see if it's going to make sense on screen for y'all. So that's going to be one grid, and I'm going to need to find the elements that are. Let me make this artboard a little bit bigger. Go back to escape out of that. Let's make the artboard a little wider, so we got some room to play. Just imagine this is going to be full width. So my first grid. We actually need to find kind of the smallest elements that we're going to be playing with in terms of rows, and we have this area up here. Oops. Go back to pencil mode. This area up here, which is the nav area, and that's one row. There we go. And then I could go in and just have one big banner area here, and that's a possibility. We lost pencil mode again. That I'm contemplating, or we could have this entire area be one. So I'm not exactly sure on how that's going to end up playing out, but it could also just be that we have this smaller banner area as well. Oops, pencil mode. I wish Sketch would just stay in pencil mode. That would make my life a whole heck of a lot easier. Hopefully the stream hasn't frozen. I'm kind of seeing if, oh, I paused it, that's right. So this could be the banner. This could also just be an entire grid down here. And then once we get past that, wow, let me group these all together so I can get rid of them. Group. Wow, I missed quite a bit. Where are they all? There we go. First time trying to actually sketch this out in this way. So let's see what I can do over here. All right, so I think the first thing we're going to do is define an overall page grid. It's going to have one column or one row here, and then inside of that we'll just have one FR units worth down here, and we'll make sure that it can take up most of the page that we need. And then from there, we'll actually have a secondary grid inside that, and we'll work through that. So I'm going to go ahead and dive on over into my code view. And oh, this is not the right project. There we go. Open up terminal. Dev. And this is portfolio. You can see we've already checked out a branch for that. And we're probably going to be getting rid of quite a bit on the home page, but you can see in my Jekyll instance, I really have this banner area as its own element on the home page and not connected to my header. So we're probably going to need to refactor that to have the site header be a part of that. Let's see. I currently don't have a containing div for that, so we're going to try that. We're going to go ahead and say we need div class of, oops, I don't have my Emmet shortcut set up. Div class equals, we'll start this with potentially, we'll call it body grid. And this is going to start up here in my header, and it's going to actually end before my footer, I think, because I don't actually want my footer to be included in that. So we will, let's see, this homepage, end it down here. Leave myself a little comment. Body grid from header. So we're going to actually work through this, and we're going to go over into our CSS here in a second and see if we can't define a grid that's going to make sense. Let me move this over into Firefox. Minimize that, open up Firefox so we can get better grid inspector tools. That's interesting. Can't get localhost on Firefox right now. All right, Chrome it is. All right, and let's open up our inspector. Oh, my service worker strikes again, y'all. Just like last time, we got some service worker issues. We're just gonna go ahead and get our site up and running locally. Let's see, bundle exec Jekyll serve. Cool, and gulp. Oh, lovely. Just worked on the site yesterday. Had no issues. Gotta love modern development. Alright, so while that works through it, we'll see if we're back up and running over here. We are. And we should now have in our HTML, yes, we've got body grid here, which now encompasses the header as well as the entire body, because we are having overlap happening The other part of that would be I could potentially just scale up that background image and have it come in underneath everything else. We may still go back to that. I'm not a big fan of introducing new markup just for the sake of this style, but one big containing div isn't the end of the world on that. All right, let's see. How's that orchestrating? So I'll come in. Oh man alive, we are having issues. Looks like we're having some big install issues happening. That might mean my entire development environment is hosed for the morning. So we may end up moving this concept over to CodePen, working in CodePen, and then bringing it on back. This means we have a little extra setup to do. And we may go ahead and just grab a few, at least an image of this. I don't really want to rebuild my navigation over in CodePen, but we'll go ahead and pull up CodePen and we'll go from there. All right, create a new pen. All right, so we know we've got a div body grid. Inside that, we're going to go ahead and insert a div for our navigation. I'm not going to be completely semantically correct on this because I'm just trying to get up and running. And then we go directly into the main area of the page. We'll call this banner. In that banner, we've got an image, class equals banner image. And then what else we got? We have some text. Let's actually go to the design. All right. We have, get this out of the way. We have also an H1. Call this class equals banner headline. We've got description. Paragraph class equals banner description. Go ahead and grab that from the design. And let's see. Actually, this isn't main. This is, just call it a div. Cool. And then we'll have an article post as well. So this will still be inside of main, but it's going to be actually outside of our banner. So this will be div article, and we'll just put some fake content in here. Article headline, article description. I just want to remind you all that if you do have any questions and want to talk a little bit more high level about Grid, I'm happy to do that. Just chime up in chat and I'll pick it up. And we'll skip the link for now. We don't need to worry about that. All right, and then we'll also have a promo down below. So div promo. It's got kind of a similar setup. We won't worry about setting up that layout inside of it yet, but we will go ahead and grab some content. So we've got it. All right, and so kind of thinking about this from a markup first perspective as well. If this is all you get your navigation, you get a banner area that's got the text you need, all going straight down the page in the order we expect it to. I think that ends up being a good flow of things, and we can also use that for mobile as well as for fallbacks for browsers that don't support Grid. Promo headline. All right, so now we can start working towards defining out our grid. So we know our class is body-grid. We're going to say display grid, which is how we define the new grid inside of it. And then we'll go ahead and grab that image upload a new asset of just that navigation. Let's see, upload new file. Is this what I want? Yep, there's the navigation. So like I said, we're not usually going to just have an image for that. We're going to have it be an actual set of markup. But for now, let's go ahead and toss an image tag in here and just have it be that screenshot. Oh, awesome, retina display. So let's go ahead and down here, we'll say we want our nav image to be max width 100%. There we go. And that'll just size up as we go. Now if we take a look at our design again, we can see we've got this one big grid defined, and like I said, I think I'm going to do it in 2 chunks. I'm going to do 2 rows, the small one for our navigation, and then one big remaining space, auto-spaced after that. So we're going to say grid template rows, and we're going to say I probably want this to only ever be, I don't know, 150 pixels tall, and then we'll say auto for the rest. So that should automatically take up as much room as it has to offer up there. And then we need to talk a little bit about the way that the columns are set up. And in this case, I'm probably only going to have 2 columns in this, although let's take a look real fast and see if that's the case. I think that in the end, the everything that's inside of my banner is going to be on a grid inside the banner. So really the banner is just going to take up most of the width, although we do have a little bit of space on either side here to account for, and probably have those as a grid column, and then have this space here, which is going to be blank for the most part, and then this space all the way over here for our navigation. So we got 5 columns, and we'll go ahead and specify that in the code. So we're going to come over here and we're going to take a look at grid template columns as well. Grid-template columns. And in this case, we've got 2 small ones, and we're probably talking about, I don't know, 16 pixels, 32 pixels each. So let's say it's 2 rem. And then we want to be, probably use FRs for this next little bit. We'll say, I don't know, 0.5 FR and 1 FR. 0.5 FR, 1 FR, and then 2 rem again. So as you can see, everything's starting to flow in there, and that's because we don't have an encapsulating element, which is what I was originally intending for that main to be. So I'll say main content body, and that can encapsulate everything that we got here, I believe, inside this div. Let's go ahead and get our indents working a little better for us. There we go. All right, so you can see now our navigation is up here, tiny in the top left, because it's actually trying to fit in row 1, column 1, which is not actually what we want. We want it row 1, column line, let's see, 1, 2, 3 is where we want that to start. We want it to go from 3 until the end. So we're actually going to come in here and we're going to define our nav, and we want that to be grid column. We're going to say it starts at 3 and ends at 6. All right, we got line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5. Okay, so line 5 is actually what we want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so not 6. All right, no real visible change. That's because Grid just added an extra piece there at the end. I suppose this way for y'all watching at home. So then we also need to define where we want our banner to go on this, or our content body, and really want our content body to span from line 1, so flush against the left-hand side, all the way up to line 4, actually. So we'll say content body, and it's going to be grid column 1/4, as you can see, it automatically takes up the space and it's going to give us, and actually we want this to end at 4 as well. And this will give us an actual hard line so that in the design, the right-hand edge over here is going to end up lining up the right-hand edge of our banner, which will be a nice touch. We want to keep some sort of consistency with our spacing, even if we've got this asymmetric piece on the left-hand side. And yeah, keep seeing like people popping in, looking in, and not actually moving on with us, but that's fine. So from there, we're actually going to move back into our code and take a look at setting up our grid for that interior piece. Like I said, we can actually have these, let's see if we've got all these together. Oops. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just wipe the slate clean on that. Since we've already defined that, and let's grab these and get rid of those. All right, so we're actually going to zoom in a little bit and start talking about building out our main grid area, which is the content area. And we're going to be looking at it in terms of the way we want our rows set up as well as our columns. This is actually a great area that we're not going to be able to utilize subgrid for. Subgrid is a new specification coming out in the second level of CSS Grid's spec. And it would be great to have this space automatically be one column in our child. It's just not going to be something that we get out of the first level specification for grid. So I'm going to go ahead and define out, let's see if we can make this work again. We're going to zoom back out, the columns that I'm going to be looking at. And so obviously we do need to worry about the spacing over here. So this will be one column just like it was before. We've got this large banner image. We've got this column size here. And we also need to worry about our promo area down here. So really we've got a grid that starts here and ends here with that overlap. So that means we've got one that starts here. That line didn't come through. All right, let's try that again. There we go. Line here, a line here, and then we've got this marginal space over here. And we can add that as margin, but we can also include it as spacing in the actual grid itself. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to define this grid, and it looks like we've got, let's see, one at 16 pixels, then we've got this spacing here, spacing here, spacing here, here, and end. All right, so I'm going to define some named lines, I think, on this, and that's an interesting mechanism in the CSS Grid specification that's going to allow us to actually take a look and name the grid pieces and then call those names for our various pieces of content. So in content body, we need to also have this display grid, and then we're going to say grid template. We'll start with columns this time around, and we're going to use this bracket notation, and we're going to say full width dash start and full width dash end. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a named area that is full width, and I can give that, and it will automatically know where the start and end are. Whew. My iPad is having some battery issues. It's not charging fast enough for all the streaming that's happening for it. Alright, so we know that we've got 16 pixels over here, and we've got probably half that over here. So we'll start and we'll say we've got 1 rem, and we've got, we'll call it 0.5 rem. And then we also, take a look, we've got that banner start and the banner end. So we'll name a new line, banner start, and we're actually going to share a line here at the end for banner end. That's where we want the banner itself to end. So we'll call it banner end. We'll go ahead and toss our banner grid grid area, and we'll call this banner. And now we may need to debug that a little bit because my syntax may not be 100%, but let's take a look. All right, full width banner start, banner end. All right, yeah, banner is not in there yet. Should be spanning that entire area. Banner start and then 0.5. Yeah, we actually haven't. Let's put an FR in there so that we can see this work a little better. 1 FR. There we go. So now when we come into our live view, our banner is taking up the full area. Now it's been pushed down because automatically Grid is going to want to make that spacing. Actually, we want this to be from that first area to the end. So what we'll end up doing is we'll come in and we will change where banner start happens, which in the end maybe we didn't need to have. Oh no, we actually want that banner to, yeah. And the banner is also going to have a border on it. We won't get into doing the gradient border, but we'll say 4 pixels solid green, so we can see what's happening. So you can see now in our live view, that banner is lining up on the right-hand edge over here, and it also has that spacing on the left-hand side, which is defined by those 2 grid columns. So if we come and take a look at where we want this to actually also start and end, we'll go ahead and start setting up our rows as well. So semicolon grid template rows, and we'll start with it being auto, and we want auto to define same named line. So we're going to say banner start here, and we want the banner to end after the first line. And this will automatically put it in that first area, which is automatically sized with that auto keyword from the size of the banner itself. So I've also thought to myself, I want to keep the banner image inside the banner. I'm just not sure that that plays out the way that I want it to without moving my nav, without basically setting my grid up at that layer. Which isn't the worst thing in the world. It's just one of those philosophical debates I'm having with myself right now. But that would be easy enough. Let's go ahead and try to refactor that as we go. So instead of having content body, let all this be an element of itself. I'm going to go ahead and move my template columns into this. So we'll comment that line out. All right, and we know that we want, take a look at that design again. It might be that we look at adding another grid line here to account for where that nav's going to start. Nav start and nav end. That'll end up working out, I think. So we're going to take a look at that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grid template columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we'll adjust all of these spaces accordingly when we get that in there. I've never done one this complex live before, so we'll see how this goes. So we know that we want our nav item, our nav, to start at grid line 1, 2, 3, 4 and end at the end. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll define our name line here, nav start, and here at the end we'll have it end at nav end. Now, we could be calling these things, we could tell it to end at full width end and that'd be fine, or banner end and that'd be fine. I just wonder if that's exactly what we want to be doing. We'll say grid area and we'll say nav. All right. And we'll also define nav start here and nav end after the 150. So now we've got the nav lining up roughly how we want it to right here. And this will allow for us to put that image in behind it, which should be nice and kind of call in some asymmetry. All right, let's take a look here. So we've got that lined up. We probably need this to no longer, so now we want to have that equal spacing. So we'll say this is actually now 1 rem on the right hand side as well. And we actually don't want nav end to end at the end. That was a lot of things to be said. We actually want banner end and nav end to come in right before that last line to have that equal spacing on the right and left hand sides. Let's see. All right. So we're going to come in, we're going to say we want our, let's insert a tag, let's call it tagline maybe. We'll call that an h2 class equals tagline. And this is my name. And what else do we have in here? Let's just copy it. Switch over to text mode. Copy that. Paste it in. And we know we want that to go into that first gutter area. And we know that that's going to just be that first. I think we know we want to start at full width start and we want to actually end at banner start. So I guess I don't necessarily see a problem with using that. That ends up making sense. It's between the edge of the page, so the full width edge, and the start of our banner. I think that makes sense. I think semantically in our CSS that's going to make sense to me in the future, hopefully. So let's go ahead and define our tagline. And we'll say that this is grid row or column start. We'll define that as full width start. And our grid column end we'll define as banner start. And I think I did that right. Let's take a look at how it actually played out in the CSS. Yes, it is where we want to be. We want to start at the banner start for the rows as well, though. We want to kind of take up the full height of the banner. So we will define our banner starts at the second area. So we'll say banner start and banner end. And we're going to define grid row start as banner start and grid row end as banner end. And we'll make sure that our banner takes up a grid area of banner. All right, we don't need any of this down here anymore. Although I did just redefine that, we don't need to redefine that. All right. So we'll take a look at the live view, and we should have some overlap happening, or some non-overlap, but that left area is going to need to get bigger. Article, banner, tagline there. So tagline comes right next to banner. And as you can see, it's way not big enough of an area. So we will re-specify. Knowing myself, I just didn't really think about that, and I could have measured it if we wanted to. So we'll take a look at how big that is. We'll call it 75 pixels. So that's, I don't know, 5-6 rem probably. We'll start with just a pixel value though. That'll make our life easier. So we want that first row to be 75 pixels. There we go. And then our tagline is going to be, what's that property called? Text orientation. Let's see. Is this what we want? Yeah. No, writing mode. So we'll call writing mode. Okay. Go back over. Writing mode is left top. Vertical right or vertical left to right is what we want. Vertical left to right. Yeah, I've never actually seen this this new yeah, that explains it. Basic support is available, but not, yeah, okay. So we will also transform, rotate 180 degrees. There we go. Not perfect, and we may live to regret that decision, but we'll go with it for now. And that gets us at least similar information to what we're looking for. So it's fun. We can look here and see our navigation's inside of that. We actually want our navigation to end before the banner starts. So I'm actually very curious as to why that's hanging out inside here instead of in the first row. Nav area is nav. This would be, Firefox should be up and running now. All right, so let's take a look at the layout panel, and we can actually take a look at display area names as well. No, display area names did not give me the area names I was hoping for. But we can take a look in here and see why our nav is down here. Because I'm overwriting my template columns. Excellent news. All right. Let's find out where we're doing that. Here's this one. Where am I overwriting that? Grid template rows, nav start, nav end, banner start, banner end. Rows. All right. Code pen. Why do you think I'm overriding that? Oh, I'm not overriding it. It doesn't like my syntax, invalid property value. Ah, I see. Okay. No problem. We just need to move banner start in the other braces. No problem. There we go. And instead of 150, we'll say this is auto-sized. Oh, you can see it wants these pieces to be in here. So we'll actually go ahead and specify we want, let's see, there's banner. Let's grab article. And for now, just so we can see things working, article and promo will move into grid row 3. So now we can see things are starting to get closer to the design that we're looking for. Let's go ahead and place an image on that left-hand side, and we're going to specify where that's going to end up falling, and that's going to be from, looks like column 1 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's take a look at where that is. We'll have banner full width start where we want that, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So does it actually line up in the design with where the nav starts? No, it certainly doesn't. We want one more space after that. So we'll say image end. So let's see. We don't want the image under banner anymore, unfortunately. And we'll say we want our unfortunately named banner image to be grid column start. What did we call that? We called it full width start and grid column end at image end. All right, nothing has changed yet. Let's go ahead and set z index, and now I'm going to need it. Index 0. And let's go ahead and grab a photo out of CodePen from Unsplash. I don't know. I'm totally a skateboarder, right? And we'll go ahead and set that in our image source. Cool. Let's take a look at where everything is now. Should have an image in here somewhere. Banner image, which thank you CodePen. Image here. Oh, it's all the way down here. All right, cool. So let's take a look at. Give it a max width 100%, and then we also want it to be spanning a couple rows as well. So we'll start. Image start, image end, and we'll define that as well. Oops, not there. Grid area. See what happens. I've never actually tried to define this many things in one spot. All right, that sort of worked, sort of didn't. So we're not going to be able to use grid area, so we'll do row start, which is image start and grid row end, image end. And there it is. And then we want to add some z indexes, which I'm actually kind of surprised that, there we go. So you can see now it is coming in behind, although our banner is a little tall. I'm surprised that's breaking out. Because we want to say also height 100% for our image, and we're going to specify object fit cover to keep our aspect ratio intact for that. So you can see we now have this spacing, and we need to now have our banner content have some area as well. So inside of our this is really where subgrid would pay off for us. I'd love to be able to specify a subgrid over there on the right hand side of the screen, and then on the full width, and then have only the that little bit involved. Instead, I'm going to have to actually either move my content outside of this area, or define an actual size in here, which is not really what I want to do. Let's see if there's anything I can key into here to make sense. So I really don't want to specify a container, a nav or an HTML element just for this border. That's not really what I wanted to have happen. But I think I'm going to end up having to do that. So we'll keep banner like it is, and it'll just have to be an empty element for now. We're going to move the banner's contents out here and define where we want those to go. didn't want to have to do it this way. You know what? We'll keep banner in there and intact. And we're going to specify an after element for this because I think I definitely want to have some better semantics around that. So our banner is going to take up the area of banner. So grid area banner, and we're going to basically grab those styles from our current banner and bring them in here. Alright, and it is an after element, so we need content. There it is, it's back. And then we'll actually specify on banner a different area. So we'll have a banner content start and end, and that's on line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on 5. So banner content is line 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Banner content start, and then the full width end. So banner gets, let's do banner content end as well. So we can just specify banner content. So grid area is now banner content. And now it's all the way down here because we also need our row to be set up properly. Banner content start. That's fine. That's roughly what we want it to be. Oh, it's not though. Okay. So we need another, and this will be image, and we actually want our image extending outside the banner. That broke things. That broke things great. Let's see, image start to image end. So that's the first line to the end. We've got 1, 2, 3 declarations. Image start, image end, nav end, banner start, banner content start, banner end, content end. There we go. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're almost, where we want it to be. I think I want to go ahead and just have a default grid gap in here, just for the rows at least to begin with. Grid row gap. Actually columns, that's what I meant. There we go. Starting to look roughly how we expect it to. We want our banner content not to end on the last line though. We want it to end on the second to last line. We'll add some padding into the banner content to make that work, but we're pretty close in terms of what we were looking for out of the design, obviously barring the way that the promos are working there. And since there haven't been any questions, I'm probably going to wrap things up a few minutes early today. I really appreciate any time you spent in here learning with me and working through Grid. If you're watching this after the fact, like I said before, if you don't mind hitting that subscribe button down below, you'll be notified when I go live again, and we'll do really any question and answer segments that you want in the future. If not, I'll just keep live coding because it's kind of fun to work through. And as you can see, even when things break all to hell in my local environment, we can still get some good work done via CodePen. So we're going to keep working through this. I'll hopefully have a new homepage design maybe live next week at some point, and we'll go from there. I really appreciate all the time that you spent with me today, and I'll see you again later this week.